Hello everyone, today's book we're going to talk about is about witches in the woods, but it's really a small town religious horror novel with witches in the woods, which makes it exceptional. It's very short, you are going to love it, and we're going to talk about all that in just a minute. But first I want to remind you that I have books for sale. You can find the ones you see on your screen at the link in the description. If you buy it, I hope you like them. Alright, let's get on with the video. Alright, so the book we're going to be talking about today is called Conjuring the Witch by Jessica Leonard. I had the opportunity to read this one as an advanced review copy over on Book Sirens, and at first I almost ignored it because witches are kind of one of those tropes in horror that can be hit or miss. But then I read the description and that immediately piqued my interest, and I am really glad that I picked it up. This starts out with a couple in a small town. They're simple farmers. They just want to live a simple farming life. They belong to a religious community in that town where they seek companionship, and they're just looking for a community to bond with and all that good stuff. But this particular religious sect, the preacher starts out every sermon with the warning: there are witches in the woods that surround the church. And as time goes on, he is convinced that these witches in the woods are getting closer and closer and closer to his congregation, infiltrating the town, infiltrating his church, and he is not at all happy about that. It's also one of these churches that preaches the old school religion. Women are subservient to men. You must obey your husband in all things, or else you might suffer the wrath of God. And, you know, all that good old school misogynistic teachings. And they preach it with a venom behind the words. Our main couple, they don't really believe in any of that, but they are there for the fellowship. The husband, he is getting along with the fellow men in the group. He doesn't agree with them necessarily, but he has a relationship with them. You know, he's finding his place. The wife, however, is not. She is not happy there. She doesn't know what her plans are, what her future might be. And so she's seeking other opportunities to get more involved in what's going on. One day, coming back from a woman's church meeting, she stops in the parking lot of the church and stares at the woods and decides she wants to go out there and see what it's all about. Are these witches real? Are they just hypothetical? Are they just rhetorical? You know, the preacher is just talking about evil in general. And as soon as she makes that visit to the woods, she starts changing little by little. The preacher, his sermons get more excited and vehement about this philosophy that there are witches in the woods. Women should obey their husbands, period. He starts really pressing the issue, and she thinks it's directed toward her, as if he knows something. Even though he wasn't there that night she went in the woods, he might know something about that. Now the husband, he loves his wife. The wife, she loves her husband. That is clear from the beginning. That continues throughout the book. However, there's this underlying narrative about fitting in with people like that. Even people you might not necessarily agree with, but people you want to have a relationship with, be part of that community. And the husband isn't sure if he's actually for completely what his wife is saying and doing. Because to him, she's kind of trying to rile things up with the rest of the group, and he doesn't really understand why. So the question this book poses is, are those witches in the woods real? Is there a spirit of a witch that was in the woods trying to possess his wife, who seems to be changing more and more as this novel goes on? And also that the things we think are evil might actually wind up not being the worst thing in a town like this. Because as the pastor ramps up his passion for this message, things kind of elevate. They kind of spring out of control, and some pretty horrific things start to happen. And we will get the answers to whether there are actually witches in the woods or not by the end of the book. But this is a small town religious horror, kind of a psychological horror that deals with all of these kind of issues. What is evil? What is good? How far would you go to fit into a community? Are there other people in this community who might feel the same way as you, but they are afraid of speaking up for fear of being ostracized? All of these different elements are explored in this novel. This novel is only 190 pages long, so it's a very short novel, but it is excellent. There are no extras in there, nothing to take your mind off the main narrative. This author does a great job of showing this couple, showing this community, and even dealing with that subject of witches in the woods. And I read it all in one day because I just had to know what was going on. And that's how good it was. I downloaded it at it was about noon here, my time in Cambodia where I live. And I finished it by 8 o'clock that night. It was just fantastic. This book is coming out next month, and there is a pre-order link in the description. And I highly recommend, if you like small town horror, if you like religious horror, if you like horror about witches, and whether they're real or not, you are going to love this book, I guarantee you. It took me by surprise, but I was so happy I got to read it. And I will leave a link down below to Amazon if you want to pre-order your copy. Conjuring the Witch by Jessica Leonard. I highly, highly recommend it. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time, spending it here with me. I really appreciate you guys watching. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.